All of the conversations, the announcements, the media about technology at work right now keeps coming back to this concept here, agents. Agents are going to transform business processes and completely change the way we work. But how much of this is hype? How much of this is real? What do you need to know to get across this? What does this mean for your business, your career, your job right now? And what should you do about it? I'm here to take you through all of that. The best definition I've come across for agents in a workplace context is that they are tailored knowledge workflows. We're very much here in the world of process automation and process transformation, but the difference here compared with traditional automation is that we're bringing AI and knowledge into those workflows so that the agent can actually refer to things and take independent decisions. So if you think about a traditional workflow where you might say, go out and retrieve a customer order detail, or even a traditional chatbot where you can say, hey, chatbot, please find the customer's recent order, and it can go out with a connector and bring that back. This next level of agents means that it can reason, it can use its knowledge and the language model to reason over other information sources. So at its simplest, that example I was just talking about turns into something here where we can say, don't just bring back that customer return, but also now check the returns policy and make a decision using that knowledge and reasoning that I've given you to decide whether or not the person can return it. Now, this is one simple example, but it's a nice one that I think most of us can understand. We've all wanted to return something after all. The idea here, though, is that we can start to rethink what's possible to automate in a business context based on the fact that now we have these AI, these large language model capabilities that are able to both understand, take in knowledge, reason over that knowledge, find answers, generate answers, summarize things back to us, and a whole lot more, because this world is moving so quickly. That speed is part of why we have such a huge hype cycle, because seriously, you turn your back on this stuff for one day, sometimes 1 hour, and there's something new going on. I keep up with this as much as I think it's possible to do while I also have a whole job and a whole life going on. And honestly, it's overwhelming to keep up with. So here are some key things that are why this is turned into a big hype right now, is because the capabilities of what generative AI can do are starting to allow these situations to become real. So there are 4 parts to this. The first thing is just that the models are becoming more capable and more useful all the time. We have seen a huge uplift in the last 2 years from where we started to where we are now, and there are even other new models coming through now that can just do more, they can do more faster. The second thing is that with the capability of these models, things like this new preview from OpenAI O1 model, and I'm thinking this is brand new, but look at the date on this announcement. I'm recording this January 2025, so this is old news, if you like. But this is a model now that is showing increased ability to do reasoning and calculation type things, which we haven't seen before. So the capabilities of what generative AI are able to do are essentially just growing and changing all the time. The third thing here is what is happening with generative AI and memory. I'm going to let someone much more qualified than me tell you about this. I've got a bunch of little snippets and resources that I'm going to show you here, and they're all in the description if you do want to deep dive further in. But let's hear from Mustafa.
We have prototypes that we've been working on that have near infinite memory. And so it just doesn't forget, which is truly transformative. I mean, you talk about inflection points. Memory is clearly an inflection point because it means that it's worth you investing the time, because everything that you say to it, you're going to get back in a useful way in the future.
This is a prototype that he's talking about, but as a vision for where this is going and why there's hype, the idea that your agent has everything in its memory makes it far more capable of being able to take on business processes. Even without these prototypes of infinite memory, which is a whole other thing that I'm struggling to get my head around, the idea that you can start to build an agent that goes beyond what I said at the start, yes, let's take this information and do something about it, but it actually has a living memory of all of the things that are going on in the organization. the same way a person might. So we become, I think in the future here, less dependent on people who've done the same job for a long time, or processes that have to be documented a certain way and then people having to find them, and actually feeding all of that organizational knowledge to an AI, which is able to retrieve it and do it in a more useful way. I think that's where we're going with this. The other thing that is really, really important to understand, and this is the fourth thing here, and I've left it till last because it's the most important, is that agents are more than just chatbots. So in my very first example that I started with here, and I do have a whole video showing how I built this one out, this one is actually what's known as an autonomous agent. So we're not just interacting with this by a person coming along and saying, hey, I want to return something. This agent is actually monitoring and looking for emails that are coming in, taking that action, understanding what's going on, and replying to the customer. Now, of course, you can put your human in the loop anywhere you like. But even beyond the idea of this sort of experience, we are seeing multimodal capabilities coming through with generative AI. And by multimodal, what I mean is that we're no longer just restricted to somebody typing in a text box. We are seeing generative AI able to work with vision, with audio, with speech. This is where it starts to get to a next level. So let's look at 3 examples of that are real in the Microsoft platform right now. These are all fairly early preview, but these are all real demos. The first one is this idea of vision, and Copilot Vision is one of the products. This is only available to a very, very select number of people, and sadly, I'm not one of those people yet. But stay tuned. When I am, I will show it to you. So the idea here is that you are actually able to use Copilot in your browser and have a conversation with it where it is aware of what's going on the screen. So the examples that they show here, and again, link in the description if you want to check this out, there are actually sort of things in here where you've got a shopping site open, or a place here where you've got accommodation, and you can ask it questions and it's actually genuinely interacting with the content on the screen, so it can see your screen. And there's been quite a lot of things coming through in the Microsoft announcements that show this idea at work as well of, hey, the Copilot is actually able to view what's available on the screen and have that conversation. So vision is the first one. The next one is where we start to get into the audio and the speech. So the big thing here, and this is going to really change what's possible with customer service solutions. This is a video here from Microsoft Ignite showing an example of an IVR, a voice solution. So you know when you ring a call center and it goes, press 1 for this, press 2 for that, and you have to go through a series of pressing all the numbers. This is how this can change. So this is again built using Copilot Studio, where you can provide it with knowledge. This is core to the concept of what we can do with generative AI at work and for service. Provide it with the organizational knowledge, and the customer or the human agent can ask questions and get those answers. Multimodal now means that that can happen in ways other than text. So let's take a look at this. There is a pause in here that I tell you what, this guy who was presenting this at Ignite must have just like held his career in his hands for a moment, but high drama. This one is real. Let's take a look.
Now, I'm going to try to attempt a live demo by placing a call using my phone, and we'll see how the agent responds.
Thank you for calling Ignite Financial. How may I help you today? Please choose one of the following options. You can press 1 or say branch hours, press 2 or say lost card, and press 3 or say apply for a loan.
What's your best rate available on a mortgage?
The best mortgage rate available is for the 5/1 adjustable rate mortgage, ARM, at 5.5% APR.
Okay, the drama of the pause there, and also the reality of this technology. I did start this video by saying what's real, what's hype. This is real, but if you were in that real customer service environment right now, that delay is too long. So like that we're getting there, but you need to understand where this is going so that you can start thinking about where this might be taking you. So instead of that experience of the agent is constrained to the choices put in front of it and you have to press the keypad to choose the right one. That person just asked a question that wasn't one of those options and got the answer from the knowledge source in the same way that you can. And we've started to get used to the idea that you can just chat with an agent and it will provide you with an answer. Now you can voice chat and it will speak the answer back. Incidentally, if you're building this out with Copilot Studio, you could build it once and it will work across those multimodals. If you're interested in an actual demo, I am going to put something together, but let me know in the comments because I need to get this set up and prove it to me and to you and do it for real. All right, so now we've had a look at vision, we've had a look at speech and audio. The other thing here is to start to think about agents even in other different ways. So this is an example from the Power Platform Community Conference. This was in September 2024, and this is Ryan Cunningham, who is the Vice President of Intelligent Applications, talking through the idea of a data entry agent. So this is a whole other thing entirely. What we've got here is his traditional SaaS application, the business system where he has to do the data entry on the left. On the right, we have an email from a customer that is unstructured. So what we're going to see here is how an agent can reason over, interpret, understand that unstructured text and turn it into something structured. He does get excited about this, and I do love that.
And luckily, with an intelligent app, we don't have to. I'm going to take the whole text of this email. I'm going to let you in on a little fancy programming trick I learned in college. It's called copy and paste. And check that out. We've got a data entry agent working behind the scenes here in Power Apps. Boom! It's going to take all of that text and fill out every single field in that form for me. It's going to reformat the dates. It's going to get everything right. It's going to pull it out. Game changer, massive time savings.
All right, people get a bit skeptical when they see this because is it just a contrived demo? But again, all of these things are real. They're very early, but that idea of the generative AI can actually understand what's going on. It can interpret that email, the content of that email, and then do that work for you. That is a real capability. So we're going to be seeing more of that. I am going to let Ryan wrap up this section for me on multimodal agents with the best quote I've heard on this subject about why agents are more than just chat and why it is important for us to start thinking about this technology in ways other than chat. This is a snippet from an excellent podcast called Power Time. Highly recommend that you check out this whole episode and other episodes here, but let me just play this snippet of Ryan on the subject of why this is more than just chat.
There's a lot of stuff that we do today that doesn't need to be fully reactive to a human pressing a button or typing into a box. And I think that's the other big fallacy of chat as the UX modality is, gosh, if we're going to really build agents that are incredibly capable and can reason over all our information, it's like hiring a bunch of new employees and training them on everything your company's ever done and then going and sitting them in the corner and saying, only speak when you're spoken to.
I love this. Using an agent only for chat is like having employees with all this experience and all the knowledge and saying only speak when spoken to. We want these agents to become an active part of the business processes so that they are doing things on our behalf the way that you would delegate. And again, if I'm going to keep going back to my example here at the start, when you are building these agents, you're actually providing them with a purpose. You're providing them with that, here is your job description. Here is what you're here to do. Please go ahead and do it and let me know if you need anything. So that's much more the idea of agents and the idea of being able to use them in these independent and autonomous ways. So essentially where we're at with all of this is that it opens up new ways of thinking about automation and new ways of thinking about business processes. So many organizations have got tedious, laborious business processes that they haven't been able to do anything about. This is where we get the chance to actually start to come back and really properly look end to end with these new capabilities coming and these new ways of thinking, what might be possible. And not all of that might be possible today, although maybe if you're watching this video in the future, it is. I'm sure it is. So the idea is that we start to rethink. We start to think in different ways about how can we bring intelligence and knowledge into the workflows, and therefore what does that mean for them? Now, I did say at the start there was a recent podcast with Satya Nadella, CEO of the whole of Microsoft. This guy's in charge of the whole thing, which is really, really insightful about some of these things and also stirred up a bit of more hype and more controversy. And I'm going to play you that bit and we'll talk about it in a moment. But on this idea of rethinking business processes, he does also talk about how they're using Copilot and agents in the office of the CEO at Microsoft. Of course, they are using their own technology. Don't listen to the competitors who say they aren't. The idea here is that the reinvention of the process, as he describes it, is instead of saying he has someone in his office who he's going to see a customer, someone prepares a brief and then they have to gather all the information and he reads it, that gets flipped around where he can actually go in and say to the Copilot, hey, can you please prepare me a brief with everything that we know about this customer? And then there are agents at work there that can retrieve information from different systems, bring it all together, and that gets dropped in real time into a collaborative tool, and everyone adds and works with that. So the chance to rethink and to reinvent and to not continue to just do the same things we're doing. We miss the great opportunity of all of this stuff if all we do is the same things a little bit more efficiently or a little bit faster. What we're really looking for is this innovation. How do we rethink things? How can we challenge the way that things have done? And the AI tools that we're getting here provide us with a huge opportunity to rethink. Now, strap yourselves in. This is where it gets big. In terms of rethinking, this is a very, very big rethink. Here he's talking about the idea of agents and what happens to SaaS applications, business applications like CRMs and all of those databases that we use at work every day, as well as things like spreadsheets, and what happens here. I'm going to play this for you and then we're going to have a chat about it.
The SaaS applications or biz apps. So let me just speak of our own Dynamics thing.
Right.
The approach at least we're taking is, I think the notion that business applications exist, that's probably where they'll all collapse, right, in the agent era. Because if you think about it, right, they are essentially CRUD databases with a bunch of business logic. The business logic is all going to these agents. And these agents are going to be multi-repo CRUD, right? So they're not going to discriminate between what the backend is. They're going to update multiple databases and all the logic will be in the AI tier, so to speak. And once the AI tier becomes the place where all the logic is, then people will start replacing the backends, right? We people, that's what, in fact, it's interesting. As we speak, I think we are seeing pretty high rates of wins on Dynamics backends. And the agent use. And we are going to go pretty aggressively and try and collapse it all, right? Whether it's in customer service.
So there you go. They're going to go very aggressively collapsing it all. So what he's talking about here is that agents essentially become another, this is my interpretation of this, agents become another layer in between. Instead of having individual business applications where you go in and you log into your CRM and you do that data entry, you've actually got an agent experience or a Copilot experience that's got multiple agents going out and finding information across multiple systems and working across those systems for you. This is hard to get your head around. This is one example, the first example I think that illustrates this the best. This is an example of a lead qualification agent. So this is just one business process. But the way that this business process would have run in the past is that the salesperson logs into LinkedIn, logs into their CRM, perhaps has to look at some kind of ordering system, gather information, or perhaps even an administrator is doing that and surfacing up and saying, hey, here, salesperson, here are the leads that you need to work on. And then they need to do that qualification and research and then reach out to the person. So this is the vision for what I believe he means when he talks about collapsing these applications. It doesn't mean that CRM goes away or that any of those applications go away, but the user interface layer of them changes. So they become these underlying, very, very important, in fact, I would say more important databases, because we can start to get more use out of them. A lot of these systems just don't get used because no one wants to do the data entry and no one wants to go in and look up the things. But if they can't become these valuable sources of knowledge with a different user experience over the top that starts to use AI in a very dynamic way, this is what I think it is. So let me just play this one for you. Let's maximize this one out and take a quick look here.
The agent autonomously researches leads in your pipeline 24/7. It analyzes multiple data sources and flags the hottest prospects for you. With just one click, you can learn why a particular lead is prioritized based on research data synthesized from CRM records, third-party data, and public web sources. When you're ready to reach out, the agent has already drafted a personalized email. A quick review, a couple edits, and you are ready to hit send. And just like that, you're ready to move on to the next prioritized lead.
Again, I will bring you a real-life demo of this one when I get my hands on it. This one is coming, as almost everything here I've shown you is in early preview. But do you see what I mean about this idea of the interface changes? It's not just forms over data anymore. You are actually still using that system, but the agent is sort of collating and summarizing and suggesting and writing for you. That one is sitting inside that application, but that same concept, imagine just inside your main Copilot or inside Teams, being able to action those kinds of conversations. And you've got an agent checking LinkedIn and an agent checking your CRM and doing all of those things. So in conclusion, is it hype? Is it real? Yes. Both of those things. There is a lot of hype, and I think that puts people off somewhat, but I've shown you a bunch of things here that are very real. We need to start thinking about things that are not just chat, things that use vision, that use voice, things where the agent becomes another layer in the experience that the user uses. The idea of the real opportunity to transform the business process and think about it in a different way, to think about automation in a different way. And I would encourage you to start with that kind of process of what is something you're doing that is taking up time that you hate spending your time or your money on? What are those manual processes? It's not dissimilar to how we started with conversations around Power Platform, to be honest. And it might be that you find a use case that's perfect for an agent, or maybe you find a use case that's just something you could automate without AI. I'm actually finding in conversations that I'm having, sometimes the ask is actually something that you can achieve right now just with basic automation. There's still a lot of untapped automation out there. You do need to start somewhere with this. Please, please don't kind of take the hype and say, oh, it's all hype, it's not real. There are some things here that are real, but start with those defined use cases. Start with a nice small use case, something that can help you learn, understand. And the most important thing, if I'm going to leave you with anything, is the ability to start to think differently. Because all of this stuff, all of this generative AI at work, if nothing else, is going to challenge us to think differently about how we do our jobs and about what's possible. And just start somewhere with that. Let me know if you've got questions, what else you'd like to see. I've got my video here if you'd like to learn how to build autonomous agents. And I'm going to be spending a lot more time on agents and Copilot on the channel this year. So stay subscribed if you're into that with me. As always, thanks for watching.